Ugh. I hate when I press a button and cut, that's it. It just stops my video. Throws it down into that little bubble right there. This thing is so awkward to hold. I was talking about Jordan Peterson. He was talking with a guy. They're talking about religious impulse and why it's you gotta at least have a means for it, like a channel. You know, all the weird shit people do and what they would be doing if they didn't have that outlet of church. Worshipping shrines of beating up people by the cops and doing weird shit. And people do weird shit. And people are realizing that, you know, that's not going to go away. They're not going to brush that aside from society. Never. It's not going to happen. It's not going to. There's always going to be something in that place. And that if people recognize that, you have it in yourself too. You don't always know how it's going to play out because you get hit at different times with different emotional shit that will cause this response. And some you can respond different ways, but definitely the spiritual response manifests out in a different sort of channel than, you know, I don't know how to say that. That what I'm trying to say. He's an interesting character because he's not really in the church, but he looks at it and he's got a lot of people to go, and I think that's good. I'm a believer. I have different beliefs, you know, with my own personal opinion, but I'm not gonna attack no one's beliefs or religions. That's just ludicrous to do something like that. And then they say okay, what about atheists and your communist people? You know, they always want to tear down the church and this and that. And if you tear that down, what do you have to replace it? They got nothing. So, you know, you would just have a more fucked up world and people would be more fucked up. And some of them have, that's from themselves. One friend of his that he said he was talking about with it came to this realization. And it would be a realization you would come to if you were an atheist or a communist and you were being honest with yourself, not towing the line of the Communist Party or whatever. The world is very strange right now. And sometimes it's very strange. It's really dark. Sometimes it's not always that dark. There's like a definite hive mind thing. It continues to grow. I'd be aware of it, and I don't like it. And then I have my own buffering against it that I do, or it makes me feel real vulnerable. You know, like I've got to put a layer of armor on over it. And I'm ritualistic too, so I do stuff. Not like a church ritualistic or a satanist. But I'm very much symbolically aware of things. Always have been. I'm good at that. Like what is a symbol or an illusion of something else? When I went to that island I got this. The Christmas ball, red glass or whatever it is that can shatter, but I won't shatter it. Just funny weird shit that you find in the world. That is an interesting island down the way. I think on the map it calls it Boy Scout Island. It might also be Snakehead Island. I'm not exactly sure. It's kind of big. You really, I mean, I've trumped all over it, looking around, expecting to see people somewhere over the next hill or dale or whatever the fuck, and I didn't. And as you go your way, you the increasing being watched feeling. I don't know how to really explain it, but it just gets more and more and more as you go. And you kind of see people off to the sides and in the distance, but maybe not. You know, it could be all the dance of shadows. You hear people, that you do, and sometimes it's like you know the voice carries. Even here, you hear the neighbors sound like they're in your own yard. The people that are from that way, I don't know. At nighttime, though, I wonder because when the lights come on, those lights look like they're right next to our house, and they're not. So, but it's completely creepy out there at night. Not that that keeps me from going out there if I want to, but I don't know. It's very creepy. It's like things are in your area that shouldn't be, and I don't want to be sounding too paranoid. That's just the awareness of that it's there. It doesn't really have any too much fear accompanied with it. I got a good dose of it the other day, and I don't carry around fear. I'm not a fearful person or nothing like that, but whatever circumstances was of the few couple days, you know, uh, culminated into something. Because I see things slightly different than normal people. I've got a really good occult eye, and I can see how one thing foreshadows another, and how some people, if they're interacting with you or whatever, the things that they may say or know or do imprints upon the reality, and then other things may pick it up. That actually seems to be never outside of operating. It's always going on. And it depends upon who is aware or more aware. That sort of mind mental imprint seems to become the governing mentality of whatever's left over when maybe you could say someone's influence leaves or wanes, perhaps. I don't know exactly, because you may have to contend with it sometimes, not always. At different times calls for different things, but I don't like blind people heavily interacting in my area because of that fact, you know. And a lot of people are blind to maybe it's the invisible world activities, maybe it's the astrals, varied, you know, intensities from low to high, how they continue to play out. Because they don't, if someone's not like connected to their own spirit, then it's like it leaves a door open to those other intelligences to make use of whatever they've left behind. Yeah, that's it. That's a difficult one. That's more of the most recent understandings of things for someone who tries to study and stay in advanced awareness of things like that I can postulate, because it's part of what I do. Keep it real. It is. Or at least try to share that with other people, because if other people don't know those things, then they're at a disadvantage. And it's not about teaching them or trying to prove them, or I want you to believe my belief. That's not it. It has to do with showing someone an area that affects them if they don't know, and then how they can get in there themselves. Some people don't ever do that, though, is the problem. They don't ever get in there and deal with none of that. And that makes that void that they have left more substantive as a possible negative force. It's hard to prove that to people. So it's better just to have them go on their fucking way than try to further prove it. But people are at a disadvantage if they don't know about those things. And it is a service to try to help them along and see it. Because they do. They don't understand how I'll know certain things, or why would I say this or that. Like I'm saying right here, I'm telling you, there's no, you have a access to a whole invisible world. You interface with it with your emotions more than anything else. Your talking words and all this bullshit just means little, but it all trickles into it because that's where it comes from. Maybe some people just don't want to hear that. Maybe. And other people just don't know how to engage it. Possibly. But it is worth exploring further. It is nice when you have a partner on your own, because it does sort of play upon the dynamics of the human as a unit, like a male female, because of the polarity shit. But whatever. Some people are so locked into their own personal bullshit that they have to bullshit themselves their whole life in some sort of bubble wrapped um, idea of relationship. I've suffered from that. At some point in time, I quit believing the lie. You know, there is a lie. All this shit we believe has to be this fairy tale wedding shit and all this stuff. If you learn how to be friends with people and then grow your relationship, you tend to do a lot better than if you find your partner, lock them into contract, and then ride that motherfucker like you hope it stays together. Because that normally gets into some sort of accident. Anyway, that's all I gotta say.